What's up guys, Yasukeh here. So elo inflation or ranked inflation is something that's been happening for years, and what little conversation I've seen around this topic doesn't quite put into perspective what it means, how significant it's been, what issues it actually causes, and why it's done by Riot. I've compiled all available data and information on this topic to hopefully put into perspective how to take this into account when discussing a rank and what it actually means, which is currently not done, especially by players who weren't around back in the day. And this is something that Riot has also never addressed as a topic for the entire time that this has been an issue. So most people aren't even aware that ranked inflation is an issue at all. So first off, what is ranked inflation? It basically means that the proportion of players at a particular rank relative to the player base increases year over year. So relative to the player base, it's getting easier and easier every year to get to a particular rank. What it means to be Masters in one season is completely different than what it means to be Masters in another season. And it's the same for Diamond, it's the same for Gold. But this is especially an issue in higher elo, because the prestige of what it means to be a Masters player has been very high in previous seasons, and people think it's the same thing from previous seasons, even though it's become significantly easier. So, year over year, we'll go over the specific points of data of what Masters Plus is the example that we'll use. How much that has changed year over year, season over season. So, I've compiled all of the data, and we'll go over this year by year. In Season 6, Masters Plus, so Masters Plus Challenger, was 0.01% of the population. In Season 7, Masters was 0.04% of the population. Season 9, 0.06. Season 10, 0.1135. Season 11, 0.2046. Season 12, 0.28. Season 13, 0.667. So, if you look at this, from Season 6 to Season 13, it's almost a 66% or a 66 times increase. And to give an accurate comparison of what this means is that the Season 13 Masters 0 LP player right now in EU West is the equivalent of mid-Diamond 4 in Season 7. So, the main problem that this gives is that it becomes impossible to reasonably compare ranks from one season to another. So, as an example, in Season 3, my brother was a Diamond 1 99 LP player. And if he says to somebody who plays League right now, oh hey, I peaked high Diamond 1 99 LP, that doesn't really mean the same thing that it does before. So, that time, Diamond 1 99 LP was top 300. It would be equivalent to Challenger today, but Diamond 1 now is the equivalent of, like, Diamond 5 in previous seasons, and it becomes impossible to actually compare rank season to season, which goes into, that's actually kind of the point of why Riot does it. Riot inflates the ranks season over season so that every season, even if you don't improve as a player, your rank improves. So one season, you're D4, then all of a sudden you become D2, then you become D1, then you become Masters, and you feel like you are improving because you don't actually quite understand that there is this inflation, especially because Riot doesn't talk about it. So you feel like you're constantly improving, which makes you want to play the game more because you feel like your work has actually been making you a better player. So the ranks go up over time, and that makes it to where you can't really compare what a Season 7 player is like compared to a Season 13 player. People say that, oh, the visual rank doesn't matter and it's just based on MMR and where you place on the ladder. The problem is that the rank that is visual is the only thing that people actually really understand. Because MMR is not something that is visible to the public, we can't use that as a metric. So when somebody who's played the game 5 years ago and got Diamond 1 in Season 7, when they talk about it to their friends now, their friends just think, oh, hey, they're a Diamond player. When in reality, they might have been a Grandmasters player, depending on the time. So it's the same thing with other ranks too, right? If you look at the ranked distribution here, depending on the season, Diamond 1 would be 2% of the population. Sometimes it would be 3%. And that is a 50% increase in the Diamond Plus players. And then a couple other seasons, it went back down a little bit. But now, if you look at it, Diamond is the top 3.3%. Which means that it's significantly easier to get Diamond than in previous seasons. Which, that's the problem is, if your goal has always been, I want to be a Diamond player, I want to be a Masters player, are you really getting better to become a Masters player? Are you going up to the level of what it means to be Masters? Or is Masters coming down to you? Is Diamond coming down to you? So that is a very significant issue, is that, like, you just look at the amount of players that have been in here year over year. And if you even look in the client doesn't actually fit relative to the way the inflation works. The client was never designed to have 10,000 plus Masters players. So you see in the client right now, numbers literally just bleed into each other because the UI doesn't actually match the significance of what the ranked inflation has actually been. So it's the same thing in NA. I don't have as much data on NA because Wayback Machine has several years where this isn't really a thing. But if you look at it, Season 6, 0.01. Season 13, 0.664. In Season 13, Masters 0 LP is equal to Season 7 mid D4. All of mid Diamond Plus has just been absorbed into Masters, and people still give Masters the same prestige that it was before. But it's the exact same rank that it's been. And it's the same thing in Korea. Season 7 Masters is the equivalent of 0.03%. Season 13, 0.331%. Like, it's just a massive, massive increase. It's like 11 times or something. So this is when I hit Masters in Season 8. And you think, okay, what does Masters 0 LP actually mean? This is in late Season 8. Masters 0 LP was ranked 599, which is the top half of Grandmasters today. And so the comparison point is, okay, all right, you hit Masters in Season 8. That's actually really, really impressive relative to what it would mean now. And so it becomes almost impossible to actually do this. This is a screenshot of me talking in 2018. There used to be actually an issue of ELO deflation. The Challenger LP requirements used to be like 400 plus, and then it went down. Whereas that's not at all something that happens now. We're talking about how there's 800 plus Masters Plus players. And then now all of a sudden it's 11,000, 12,000 in some regions. It has become a very significant issue. Currently, on an A, Masters Plus is 6,435. Whereas before, it was less than 600. Over a 10%, a 10 times increase. And if you look at the percentage, I did some math on the percentage of players. If you look at the percentage of relative players, when I hit Masters in Season 8, the ladder rank was 599. The percentage of players was 0.0376. And now it's 0.67, etc. There are 17.86 times more players in NA Masters proportionally than there was from Season 8 to Season 13. And that really just kind of puts into perspective. 17, almost 18 times more players in Masters Plus. In Korea Masters, it's 11 to 12 times more players proportionally. Season 13 Korean Masters is the equivalent of Season 7 low to mid Diamond 3. And that's one thing that a lot of people talk about is, a lot of pros back in the day used to get stuck in Diamond Korea. The problem is Diamond Korea is the equivalent of like 400 LP now. It really isn't the same rank, so when people think, oh, pro players get stuck in Diamond Korea, the diamond of what they got stuck in is completely different to the diamond that people get stuck in now. It's a completely Completely different rank. And so here is a visual representation of the increase in rank from Season 8 to Season 9. Because in Season 8 to Season 9, that was when the really big inflation started happening. Like, there was slight inflation from Season 6 to Season 7 to Season 8, but it wasn't from... it wasn't until Season 8 to Season 9 where there was a real inflation. So, this was a meme that was kind of popping up, is that this is a Season 8 Masters, the Dolphin. And then the cow is Season 9 Masters, who's just pretending to be Masters. The Masters Plus population from Season 8 to Season 9 tripled. And so many people were hitting Masters for the first time, and everybody just felt like they improved. And, like, you really kind of just had to put it into perspective. So many people were trying to defend, oh, ranked isn't inflated, when really they were just kind of defending their own ego. And it's the same thing now, is that, oh, are you trying to diminish somebody hitting Masters on a particular server? No, it's just, you have to put it into perspective of what this actually means relative to the population, because Masters is just getting less and less valuable over time. Diamond is getting less and less valuable over time. So, you look at this right now. This is the entire ladder, right? From Season 8 to Season 9. Significant decrease in the amount... significant increase in the amount of players in each rank. So everything is going up and up and up. So if you were a certain rank, now you're higher without ever actually increasing in skill. So, I don't have the statistical knowledge of how to create graphs to do a full breakdown of the ladder from relative to now compared to then. But this orange, or this purple box right here, right? This is what Season 13 Masters is like now, overlaid over Season 8. So, Season 8, low Diamond 4, is the equivalent of Masters today. This entire population of this has been absorbed into Masters. So, all of these people who used to be Diamond 3 players, they have had zero improvement relative to the population. All of a sudden, they're mid-Masters. And that's something that's just really important to actually take into account, is that you can't compare ranks from one season to another, not only with what different climbs look like for different people, but also relative to what you have done personally. Like me, when I hit Masters in Season 8, this is high GM. So, like, it was really surprising to see that, oh, hey, in Season 8, I was a high GM player, which is not really something that's easy to understand. So I think, oh, hey, in Season 8, I hit Masters 0 LP. Next season, I hit GM 300 LP. Like, what do these ranks actually mean compared to each other? It really doesn't make any sense. So, this is just making people feel like they're improving year over year, when in reality, you might even be getting worse at the game, but your rank still gets higher. And this is just a very significant amount of something that people just don't take into account. Like, it's 8.8 times the amount of players in Masters Plus. And this also goes into the cutoff for Grandmasters and Challenger has been going up significantly over time, especially with the new changes to LP. This is making inflation be so much higher. So the LP cutoff for Grandmasters and Challenger is going up on average 3 games per week. So if you, as a Grandmasters player who's right on the border, you need to win 3 games per week to make up for inflation. So this increase in LP gains hasn't actually made it easier to climb. All it does is just make it to where, in Season 6, right? If we look in Season 6, there were 6 players above 1,000 LP. At the end of EU last year, the cutoff requirement for Challenger was basically 1,000 LP. So the problem is that if somebody says, I've peaked 600 LP Grandmasters, depending on what time you mean, that could mean 1 game from Challenger or 1 game from Masters. And it's completely, like, it's so hard to actually take into account and make a proper comparison about what these ranks actually mean. So, like, that, it is something that needs to be taken into account when having any discussion is, what time was this rank hit? A lot of people were Diamond 1 in Season 7, and they don't even think themselves as a high elo player, when if you look at the rank comparison to the population, they would have been potentially GM today. Like, is that Diamond 1? Is that the equivalent of Challenger, or is that the equivalent of some other rank? So, the comparison of what it means over time, this makes it to where it's impossible to compare one climb to another, especially with the LP gain increase. The amount of games that it takes to get to Masters Plus. First off, Masters has been getting lower, and then the LP has been getting higher, so before it might take you, if you had an 80% win rate, it might take you 150 games to get to Challenger, or to Masters. Whereas now it might take you 70 games. Like, it really just is an unfair comparison point, and we really need to take this into account, that Elo has just been becoming a lot less valuable over time, and you really have to take into account context of what one rank means relative to everything else. And are you actually improving, or is the rank getting lower to you? So it just becomes impossible to kind of do these things, and you have to do really, really complex math and look at, oh, hey, what is the perception of the ladder? And this is something that, since Riot's never talked about this, nobody really understands. And I guess that's just going to kind of continue to happen year over year. Same thing with in Korea Masters from Season 7. There was 921 slots. Now there are 8,188 slots in Korea Masters. Korea Masters is the equivalent of like low D3, potentially even D4 before. It really is just less and less valuable what these ranks actually mean. So you just have to take this into account whenever you're having these kind of conversations. And don't let the prestige that a certain rank has had, so the prestige that Masters has, is not the same that it was several years ago. But people really don't take that into account. If you said, oh, hey, I hit Season 7 Diamond 3, that really doesn't have the same kind of punch to it. So that's just something that we all need to take into account when looking at ranks. And don't think that because, as an example, Western pro players getting stuck in Diamonds 5 years ago, that's them getting stuck in 400 LP today on Korea. So really just got to take all of these things into account when you're talking about ranked inflation. Thank you guys all for watching. What do you guys think about this? See you guys all in the next video. Yeah, just take this all into account when talking about ranks. See you guys. Have a wonderful day. Goodbye and good night. Yeet!